Hello and welcome to Immediate Immersion. Today we are going to be talking about less is more. And that means we're going to be talking about the Sweet 16. So we'll get started in just a moment and after this short intro. Hello everybody and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the Sweet 16 and less is more. So if you don't already know, the Sweet 16 is, and let me just move my camera over a bit. The Sweet 16 is the verbs that we want to use for our curriculum. They are a combination of Terry Waltz's Sweet 17, I'm mixing it all up. They are a combination of the Super 7 by Dr. Terry Waltz and the Sweet 16, which is from Mike Pito. And the way the Super 7 came about was from Dr. Terry Waltz, from her position as an interpreter. She thought of there are 7 states of existence. And if you can associate that with a verb, then the majority of things that we wanted to convey could be conveyed with those 7 ideas. In Spanish, they translate to 7 different verbs. And in other languages, they're usually 6. Then Mike Pito went on that and expanded to the Sweet 16. And he added 9 more verbs, again in Spanish, because the 16 works in Spanish. It's 15 or so in other languages, that he built a 4-year curriculum around. So with this 4-year curriculum, focusing on these Sweet 16, then students can be able to communicate in a much more expanded way, but also communicate almost much of what they need to be able to say with just these 16 verbs. So let me go ahead and put those verbs here up on the screen for everybody. There we go. So the Sweet 16 verbs are, the first 7 of them are the Super 7, and then following that are the 9 additional ones. So we have to be at a place, and that would be estar in Spanish. There is or there are, I. To have is tener. To be, ser. To like or dislike is gustar or desgustar. To go, ir. To want or feel like is querer. Those are your 7 original ones by Dr. Terry Waltz. Then Mike Pito added the other ones here to be able to expand the communication. So we have to leave, salir, to do or make, hacer, to put, poner, to be able to, poder, to give, dar, to say, decir, to know, conocer, or saber. I think in this case it's saber we're going to use. And then to return is regresar or volver. And then to see is ver. So that gives you your 16 verbs. People are telling me that you can't hear. Should my mic is working. Let me go to my sound settings. Bear with me a second. Let me double check. Looks like everything is working. Let me just double check here on YouTube. Let's see if you can hear me.
Let's see.
Yep, it's all working.
Let's see. Yep, it's all working.
Okay, so I apologize for that. So, those are our Sweet 16 verbs. And let's go ahead and then let's talk about why they are so important. So, as I said, using these verbs, these ideas, they allow you to be able to communicate a whole lot of ideas with a subset of vocabulary. Traditional textbooks try to teach you so much vocabulary that it is very difficult to learn all of that vocabulary, and a lot of it is not even very useful vocabulary. By consolidating it down to 16 core verbs, it allows you to really hone in on that. And by honing in on those 16 verbs, students don't just learn those 16 verbs, because you don't have sentences with just the verb. You need other words to make the sentences work. And that's the beauty of this. If you just focus on these 16 words, students learn a lot more than just the 16. But if you focus on lots of vocabulary like a textbook would, which the average is about 70 to 100 words per chapter, kids will learn a lot more for the short term, but very little of it will stick long term. They're actually going to learn a much smaller subset than they would if we focused on a small core vocabulary. So that's why it's really important. If we can focus on just these 16 verbs, or 15 for other languages other than Spanish, then our kids can communicate in a much larger way, in a variety of contexts, not just ones practiced in the classroom, and they have enough vocabulary to be able to think about how to say other things, to get themselves more input by having conversations with real people. So that's the why. Let's talk about the how, because 16 verbs seems like a little bit, but it can be challenging. So the way that we work it out is we work it at my district, in our school, we work on the Super 7, the first 7 of these ideas here. And for most languages, to be and to be at a place is the same verb. We focus on that in level 1. So we really want our kids to be able to know these verbs in present tense and in the most common form of the past tense for those languages that have more than one past tense. So for example, I'm using Spanish. For an example, it also would go through with French. Similarly, to be at a place, that's going to be the imperfect they're going to learn, not the preterite. There is or there are also the imperfect. To have, the imperfect. To be, the imperfect. To like or dislike, the imperfect. To go, that's going to be the preterite. To want is going to be the imperfect. Those are you focus on in level 1. Those are the most common forms of the past tense of those particular 7 verbs. So we're going to focus on that. By the end of level 1, they should be able to know those 7 verbs inside and out in present and in the most common form of the past tense. Then in level 1, 2, we slowly add the other verbs in, but they're not assessed in level 1. Moving on into level 2, we are now going to be slowly adding in the other 9 verbs, as well as adding the other past tenses. So based on the end of level 2, the students should know all 16 verbs in present tense, as well as in both past tenses for the languages that have 2 past tenses. In level 3, we will continue with these 16 verbs, but the grammar and the verbs get more complicated. But if they already know what these 16 verbs mean, just giving them new forms simplifies the process. Whereas in a typical textbook, they're giving you a new vocabulary word as well as a new grammar structure with that vocabulary word. So there's 2 things they have to learn. Here, we're really focusing on these 16. So at that 16, they already know what they mean. So when we add them in different tenses, it's much less on the cognitive brain, a lot less cognitive load. So how do we do this? When we ask questions in the classroom about our stories, about our readings, about our novels, about conversations we have with our students, we want to try to think up as many questions as we can using each of the 16 verbs. So, for example, if you, let's say we start with a sentence, Mary likes to eat cereal. So then I can start looking at the 16 verbs, and I always have a list of 16 verbs close to where I'm teaching, so I always can see them. So I can talk about, okay, where do you eat cereal? She eats cereal at someplace. So where are you when you eat cereal? That gets you your to be at a place. What kind of cereal is there? Get you your there is or there are. Do you have cereal with you right now? Get you to use the word have. What is your favorite cereal? There's your to be. Do you like this cereal or that cereal? There gives you your like. Where do you go when you run out of cereal? That gets you your go. Do you want to eat cereal right now? Oh no, we have no cereal. Do you want to leave? Do you make your own cereal? Do you put your milk in or your cereal in the bowl first? Are you able to eat your cereal with both hands? Do you ever give anybody else some cereal? What do your parents say when you eat so much cereal? Do you know where your cereal comes from? Did you go back to the store to get more cereal? Who sees you eat cereal? So those are all 16 questions that I asked using all 16 verbs. Now, you don't do that in a rote way. You sprinkle some of them here, some of them there, throughout your lessons, throughout the whole year. And as you're doing this and you're using these questions over and over and using these verbs over and over throughout the school year, your students will acquire these verbs and how they work. So that's how you use the Sweet 16 and teach the Sweet 16 for your students. Now, when they do master these, you can add more words, but I don't ever assess those words because I focus on these 16 words. The assessments that we give in our school are all around these particular vocab words, the 16. We have listening assessments, reading assessments, speaking and writing assessments that are all built around these 16 verbs. And because of that, they really hone in on those and are able to communicate much better using the Sweet 16. So there you have it. That's our Sweet 16 for today. It was a short one. It covers all the basics there for you. If you want to learn more, you can go on to our Webversity course, which is at, and let me put that in the chat for everybody. So there you can see it at mm.us/webversity to learn more about using comprehensible input in your classroom. And if you found this video helpful, it would be much appreciated if you liked and subscribed to this video. Share it with other teachers who you know will also benefit from this. And I will see all of you next week where we're going to be talking about embedded reading. Have a good one, everybody.